What is good, folks? Thank you so much for joining us once again on an episode of the Coffee Roasters Warm-Up Sessions podcast, based here right out of Bellingham, Washington. And before we get into our podcast, let's pour some batchy.
Shouldn't have whistled. I don't know why. Straight into a mic, dude. Sound effects.
Dude, we just don't have any music on our podcast. Most podcasts start with like some music, but that whistle was that.
I always have to make
Maybe
like
we
some
need
kind of sound effects.
Maybe we need some kind of jingle.
Just swoosh. Like
Maybe we need a jingle for the podcast.
Yeah, I don't know.
No jingle?
No, I like jingles. I have a jingle for my other
That's right,
podcast.
you do,
Yeah. Dude, I love jingles. I think
Yeah.
introductions, like some of my favorite podcasts have like the intermission jingle, like in between, like trying. I dig that stuff. I mean, that's great.
And deep in thought, maybe we need a jingle. Maybe we need like a theme song.
Like we
So
just
when
need
you
a
turn
bunch
it
of
on,
ASMR.
you're like getting hyped about
dude,
it.
Just need a bunch of ASMR.
Oh yeah, who does that?
Dude, Keys to the Shop.
Do they?
I think
it's like,
so.
It's like the cafe
the
sounds,
cafe
and it's
sounds.
like
Yeah.
the milk froth.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
Some
Wow.
roasting, like
Yeah.
like we need some roasting sound effects. Maybe that's the next project. Like when we're roasting, I'll bring out the boom mic. I went finer, dude. I mean, yeah, this coffee has been chilling. It's almost chilled.
No, it's far from chilled. It's not bad, but it's kind of under extracted.
Yeah, and I want finer.
Yeah.
I actually tightened up the
How
I
did
don't
this
know.
brew on the live?
It was quick.
It's quick.
Now I remember. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's when I brewed it with Alex.
Wow.
I brewed it on the 888, and my drawdown was a little quick. That's odd for African coffee, higher elevation coffee. Or maybe I'm just mistaking it. Like sometimes I flip it around in my mind and I go the other way.
What is this? Tell the folks.
This is some coffee from Thankfully Coffee Roasters. Coffee Thankfully is their Instagram. This is the Chepsang. How do you say that? Chepsang. I don't know. It's a Kenyan coffee.
Sorry,
from
folks.
the Chepsang estate in Kenya. It's good. I liked it. I like it a lot. Thankfully hooked me up, so I did not buy this coffee. Disclaimer. So they hooked me up with it, and because I had a little IG post where I wanted to kick off the year with some great coffees, and folks were just giving up recommendations, and I did an Instagram live with Alex Wallace, and Thankfully, so it was a grand old time. Yeah. Really enjoying it.
Interesting.
So,
What do they have on here? Intense sugar and lively.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think it's like very similar to a lot of Kenyans this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
it's
similar.
bright. That's what I would consider lively. Like very like big acidity.
Yeah.
But it's also juicy.
Yeah.
Kind of has that round sweetness
Yeah.
in general. So
Yeah, it has like I think that like intense sugar is like probably what you could probably say for a lot of Kenyan coffee. Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, don't quote me on this. But like if you just take it like a little darker, you get this like caramelized, like really nice sweetness. But
Yeah.
it's not just sugar. There's like usually it's like it has like some fruity aspects to it.
I mean, I think that's been classic for Kenyan coffees this last harvest, not the one that just got finished, but this 2021 harvest. Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
A lot of folks who have been a lot of Kenyan coffees that we've tried or even measured on the color gauge, they've been darker.
Yeah.
For a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
and
only us,
some
especially
lighter. But
Yeah.
we didn't like those.
Yeah. But for majority of the tasty ones were developed a little more than normal.
Yeah.
Great.
Kenyans are a whirlwind to roast. by the way. We wouldn't recommend it. But
Dude,
I do want another Kenyan. I'm telling you, disagree with me, but I think the Kenyan that we just had, the Kirinyaga, was probably one of my favorite Kenyans but one of my favorite coffees we've ever roasted. I loved it. It was just a nice, like, juicy, sweet, mouth-watering, had this really nice acidity and sweetness, but it was washed. It was clean. It was, I don't know. I liked it a lot. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far, because right now I just had the classic post-cupping burp, and I tasted our Sadama. It's still there. Like, that's how long the aftertaste lingers.
That was nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Kenyan was great. Like, I'm not opposed to Kenyans, but
it's always nice to have other roasters on the podcast brewing their coffee, and it's always nice actually buying coffee from other roasters as well.
Yeah.
As much as, people think you just like to drink your own coffee.
No.
Not always. It's like, dude, I'm already cupping them every other day almost.
Yeah, totally.
And I want something creative, something different, which brings me to to kind of where we're going with this podcast is that, what was the first roaster that you've had that was roasted in Bellingham? What was the first coffee you've had that was roasted in Bellingham?
Yeah. Most likely, if I remember right, it was Black Drop.
And when was that? How long ago?
Right around, I think, towards the end of my senior year of high school.
That's right.
Probably like 06,
Dang.
07. Yeah.
Whoa.
I didn't do running start.
14, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was before I knew anything, before I even heard the term specialty or third wave.
Were they serving Maniac?
I don't know the history. I don't think they owned Maniac yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so were they serving them? Maybe, but I don't think they owned them yet.
Man, that's so crazy to think. Like, now, like, I guess it just puts things into perspective, because now I'm like, we've had Mirror. We just surpassed our 2-year anniversary of roasting in Bellingham, which is just absolutely exciting to be roasting in Bellingham. But to think like, they were back in 15 years ago.
Oh, they're straight up OG.
Game.
Yeah.
They're like as old as it gets. Yeah. And which is just wonderful. Yeah. Do you remember your first memorable coffee experience in Bellingham?
Oh, memorable. It's hard if you're talking about like strictly based on coffee.
Yeah.
I don't
Maybe
know.
not.
But the experience of the cafe, I mean, there's a reason I went to Black Drop. Like, I was a regular at Starbucks already at that point.
Yeah.
The reason I went to Black Drop was for the vibe.
Yeah.
It's unlike anything else in the heart of downtown, under the Bellingham apartment building.
Yeah.
Right on that classic corner. It's like as classic as Bellingham classic as you get. I mean,
especially
for me,
Bellingham back then.
That was before Faith Life owned like quarter of downtown. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there was nothing on that corner. Like, literally a few shops. You have Black Drop, the bank. Like, that bank is iconic. So it's like, it was a vibe. Like, I'd go to downtown specifically to go to Black Drop, and then I'd leave. It was all about the experience, all about sitting on those chairs, the people in the cafe. There was just like so much like strangeness going on. Everybody was different. It felt like almost like a rich culture was happening. I loved it.
Yeah, back then I think Bellingham was, I mean, for all I remember, was just very different from what it is right now. It was literally a small town, like very small town. And we're still small town because we are right now, I think, at around like 100,000 population in Bellingham, which is decent. It's growing, and it's growing very rapidly, which is causing, its own set of issues, but also really its own set of really cool things, because a lot of new cool things are popping up that probably would not have popped up if nobody would move here, you know? And so Bellingham has had such an interesting progression with coffee where at one point we were like ranking, I think, some of the highest of like coffee stands or coffee per.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Remember?
Drive-throughs.
Yeah, something like that. There was like a statistic where it's like Bellingham was like loaded with drive-throughs.
That's
so
right. Yeah.
we have this like in Bellingham, we have this like rich coffee history of, I mean, even when we were talking about like Tony's is like
That's
a
right.
nation renowned, huge coffee operation. And their specialty, they're roasting up some great coffees, and they've been around forever. But then they're like super OG as it gets.
I mean, they share an anniversary with Starbucks.
No way.
Yeah. Same year.
I didn't know they
old
were
school.
that OG.
Yeah.
Whoa.
They just celebrated, I think the year,
insane.
the year they celebrated their 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
Was also the year they won Macro Roaster of the Year by Roast Magazine.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
They're big. Yeah. Big deal.
And then we have stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's
wild.
that's insane. But I remember about 10 years ago, I moved out to Portland, and that was where I had my big coffee enlightenment. That was when I moved back from Portland, and I was like, I want a lot of that new experimental specialty third wave like coffee experience. Man, we're just like this small town. We have a lot of coffee
in general,
but it's not kind of what I experienced in Portland that was really resonating with my flavor profile.
Right. Yeah.
And that was then when I had like literally a year after that, at that time actually we have Woods coffee.
Woods, yeah,
Woods. When did Woods start?
2004, I believe.
Yes, something like that. So they're now what, like,
going on
almost 20 years.
Yeah, 18 years.
Whoa,
yeah,
that's crazy. And that was where, when I moved back, that was kind of predominantly what I was doing.
Yeah.
I would go there, order a pour over, which was like a bad idea because they're always slammed, and then they have to have one barista just pour a pour over for this one guy. But anyways, that was way back. That was back in the day. So then, shortly after that, we had a small little place called Onyx Coffee Bar open up, and then you had a memorable experience there.
Yeah, because I don't know if it was you that told me. I think most likely it was you.
I think so.
About
and I wasn't even there.
Yeah, you weren't there. It was me and Rachel. And we went in. Good old Kevin was behind the bar.
Dude,
and I was just shocked by the model because you walk in, there's no espresso machine, no syrups, no nothing. And it was just filter coffee. It was just like, it was basically a tasting room. That's what it was. You know what I mean?
It was like a speakeasy.
And like it was like, because it was
coffee.
below like these condos, and you kind of walk in that door, and it's just like literally like a hallway. It's a hallway with like a filter coffee bar because it was so small. But it was super dope, and it was super memorable because that was the first time I ever cupped coffee.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what the concept was, but I heard people talking about, you cup coffees to figure out the taste. And I knew it was a tasting routine, but I wasn't sure what it encompassed. So like doing that cupping was like amazing. And that was with Rachel.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Yeah, I remember I really wanted to go, but for some reason I couldn't go. Or else that probably would have been my first cupping experience as well. And that's like a while ago. That's like
a long time ago.
7 years ago or something like that.
Totally.
Which is insane. And that was like the first sighting of, you have these light specialty coffee roasters, or third wave roasters, or I don't even know, whatever, both of them, I guess, that were really coming into town. And it was such a niche model where they only serve pour overs with no sugar, no milk, no nothing. You walk in for a black coffee, and only opened twice a week on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even know that.
That's it.
Wow.
It was so niche. And one of the people who headed that project was Edwin from Onyx Coffee. And that's when I got well, not the Onyx Coffee Lab, folks. It's the Onyx Coffee importing company, the green coffee importing company. That was when I also was exposed to them, and I was like, wait, like there's like a massive, insane coffee company that was based in Bellingham.
Yeah.
That's like doing like global projects, and that was insane to me. But yeah, that guy. I also, if you haven't listened to that podcast with Edwin,
it's a good one.
Go back. It's a really great one. And they went from that model. They opened up like a full-fledged like coffee shop, like a cafe and roastery kind of. They were roasting a little bit of their own, but kind of like a multi-roaster and a roaster. It's kind of an interesting model. Mm-hmm. And that was when you also started moving back here, right?
No,
or I guess
the first time I
end.
went to Primer, I met Jason.
That's right.
You and I walked in. I think that's when you actually like applied for the job or something like that, because we were talking about social media. That was around when our sister got married, when Rachel was getting married.
Yeah.
So it was like that week or before, because I was with like Taylor.
Yeah.
Or someone.
Yeah.
And then first time.
And then around like about a year after they opened, we had Canberra open up their cafe. And Canberra is like, at that point, Canberra was like a world-renowned coffee roaster already. Like they won like some awards nationwide, and they just didn't have a cafe storefront. And then they started their storefront, and that was already insane to have two really like specialty light roast, kind of Nordic roast approaches to coffee in Bellingham, which is insane for a small town.
For sure.
And I think that was already it's crazy to think that that's already now becoming more of like the norm, where most of the places in the United States you can go to, you can make a quick search, and all of a sudden now you can get like a decent cup of coffee.
Yeah. I mean, around that time as well, I remember between on Rachel's wedding day. I don't know why that's like a big mile marker.
Yeah.
Because we were already in coffee. Yeah. You said, dude, I need to take you to this bakery.
Oh, yeah.
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 And we stroll into good old Fairhaven, go to Iron Rooster, and get Heart coffee. That was the first time I ever had Heart.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So that was big, because I was like, wait, for me, that was also like new, like, wait, this is in Fairhaven, which is like, man, like it's this like historic town, not a city, like next, like right outside of downtown Bellingham.
Yeah.
Like literally it's like a mile outside of downtown Bellingham. But you could go in there and get specialty coffee inside a bakery. Like it's not a cafe. Like to me, that was also like, wait, that already exists in Bellingham? I was shocked by that, you know? And that was a great experience when I met Bailey and everything. Yeah, that was super. So that was back then.
Yeah, and they had their little key speedster. Mm-hmm. Just like...
It was a vibe. The whole experience there was like... Yeah, I was so pumped on it.
It's still, like, in my opinion, one of the most underrated cafe spots in Bellingham that deserves way more hype than it gets. Yeah. Like... tasty coffee with like incredible pastries in town is just like such a great combination. And it's also kind of neat that they're only open on weekends as well, which is kind of like,
as of now,
I don't know. As of now, that may change later with the whole COVID thing. But anyways, and then later on when you moved here, shortly after moving here, you got a job at Makeworth,
right?
Which is like an insane coffee operation in town that I would never think in a million years that would be something that's thriving and something that's bumping and has found its way into the community. And then now you've left Makeworth, you were working there behind the bar. Now what's going on?
And now helping start up Narrative second location. So in Bellingham.
That's
from
insane.
Narrative Everett, going back to kind of like the beginning of it all. So that's also a big move, is bring it, like for me especially, it's like I remember that time when you and I started getting into specialty, and that was one of my recommendations. Like, you need to check these guys out. And now to be part of that company and to be bringing it into Bellingham is like, It's surreal. It's
and
huge.
Blocks away from where you used to go 20 years ago.
Exactly.
Or,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's insane.
Like, it's insane. And just the quality of coffee, the hospitality, the community that's going to be like brought into Bellingham and within their like model and from Everett is like, it's such a great addition and stuff like that's happening. But like, I think one of like in between, like before moving, I didn't move to Bellingham to work for Makeworth. Like you like loosely threw out the idea of like Makeworth to me, and I was like, oh, I've never heard of it. He's like, oh, you know that building on the corner in State Street? I think when I drove crazy. By it, it still had paper on the walls, on the glass. Yeah. So they weren't like, the inside was still gutted.
Yeah.
So like that was like kind of what happened after I moved, but I was actually gonna help start Arboretum.
That's true.
So
that slipped out of my memory. Wow.
So that was gonna happen, and that didn't happen. And now in that spot is Black Fern, another major cafe in Bellingham.
That's serving great coffees as well.
Yeah,
that's insane. Like now that I'm like thinking back to that, I'm like, there was a lot brewing, and this is happening like in the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. That's insane. Yeah.
3 months before Makeworth opened up, Baby Greens opened up serving Anchorhead.
That's true. Yeah. And within that, we have Anomaly that opened up, which is like a small little cafe, literally 11 stories under us right now.
Yeah.
And then there's Cafe Blue in Fairhaven also. And it's insane just to see the progression of like a small town like ours grow insanely through people who are just passionate about coffee and who want to bring like a fresh coffee experience into town. Yeah. That's not just your usual, and I would recommend, like, for those of you come by Bellingham, swing by those cafes. We have, anything from Makeworth, Anomaly, Cafe Blue, Camber, Black Fern, Soon Narrative. Lettered Street's also. Lettered Street's that's right an oldie. That's an oldie that's serving up some Veltons out of Everett. Yeah. It's just like, it feels hopeful. Yeah. To think that even in a small town, a new fresh coffee experience like that can actually become something that's existing, that people embrace, that people enjoy. Of course, it's not for everybody, but those cafes are doing great,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the other day, I live in like literally the heart of downtown. So I walk 2 blocks to Makeworth, and then 1 block down is the corner railroad with woods. Yeah. So it's like super close in that area. And then 3 blocks is Camber, and then 4 more blocks, our office here, is 4 or 5 blocks is Anomaly. Yeah. Oh, and in between all those is Baby Greens.
And Black Fern is
just down. Like, this is all walking. Insane. Like, you could park your car and walk to all of these. Yeah. But the wild thing is that one day when I was talking to you about this is I walked out of my apartment, walked down the street past woods, packed, and then came to the office, and you were like, dude, I came to Makeworth and left because it was too busy. Yeah. I was like, what? Like, literally, these cafes are on the same block.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just nuts.
Yeah. But coffee culture is rich here.
Yeah. Coffee culture is growing steadily. And yeah, sometimes, now with Narrative that's coming up, I'm like, I actually I'd go down to Seattle for coffee, but I'd stay home for coffee. Yeah. Totally. As weird as that sounds, like, I would never thought I'd say that. I do miss going up to Vancouver, BC. That's on a different level. But yeah, now I'm like, I don't know if I would, unless I'm looking for something specific. I have all the coffee that I need here with different roasters, different vibes, experiences, settings, everything, which is just so, I don't know, just so exciting. And I thought actually that was like a very important thing for us to even honor or acknowledge on the podcast as a roasting company that started in the last 2 years, also here in town, that this is home, and it's changed so much, and it's
Yeah.
exciting. And there's
Super
already
cool.
new things on the horizon, like the bagel shop, and
Yeah.
that's gonna be mind
There's
blowing.
another friend of mine who's tied to another big name roasting company is talking about a location. So
Dude,
yeah.
absolutely insane.
So lots going on.
Yeah. Well, folks, thanks so much for listening. Hopefully this give you guys just a little insight as to Bellingham, our home, where we come from, what we're doing, where we're based out of. If you're in Bellingham, hit us a DM, send us a message. We'd love to show you around, give you some recommendations. But alrighty, there it
We need
is.
to visit Seattle
Final.
and the coffee scene
That's
there.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.